Hey guys, it's NC here, and welcome back today to another NC Pleco Cavers video. And today we have a special guest, Ed's Moats from Aquatic Exotics. And it's gonna be great. We're gonna ask him a couple questions because I love learning from people, and I want to spread the information to you guys. So let's get started. First of all, what is your favorite fish of all time?
I kind of have a favorite family.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I really like the crocodons. So with the crocodons, if I had to give my favorite, probably El Tabaso, which is known as the Black Prince, which is what everyone likes. But over the last year, I've been working with Crocodon Audax Los Pinos, and it's coming in very close to with the Black Prince with me. But as a family in general, I like the crocodons. Those are the ones that are closest to my heart.
Okay, and I'll put like a picture somewhere in
Sure,
here talking about
sure,
like the family and stuff.
sure.
That's with me, like, the fish always changes. You like this fish, and then as you move towards other fish, it kind of changes.
Right, sure.
What makes live bears and other rare fish worth keeping, just beyond rare, like.
So I look at it from might have a different perspective than most. So a lot of people are like, oh, these are rare fish, they're really cool. They are, but I see like a lot of people, oh, I want to work with these because they're very rare, or I want something in my fish room that no one else has, or it's hard to find. I personally got into working with them because I saw a need, but I also saw a need to share the education and working with these fish. For a lack of a better term, I found a vacuum in our community. A lot of people showed pictures, oh, I have this fish, but no one's sharing husbandry. So the reason I keep them is I enjoy them. And I found them 8 years ago when I ran across a video of Greg Sage. And I reached out to him and said, what's the worst that could happen? I'll never hear from him. From that email that I did, we started to build a rapport. He became a mentor, and now he's a good friend. But he opened my eyes. I've been in the hobby, I think, when I told you when we first got on, since I was 4 years old. At 6 years old, I was maintaining my own aquariums. I worked for years with ornamentals. I had my own store. I was looking for something to stay in the hobby to kind of ignite that passion I had. And when I found these on his YouTube channel and reached out, it just opened a whole new venue for me.
Oh yeah.
So for me, I'm not just producing fish. The goal of my fish room is maintaining genetic bloodlines and conserving those bloodlines for the future, whether it's to maintain them in the hobby, or if at any given time it's for reintroduction back into the wild. But that's the way I do it. And I realize that might not be for everyone, but I focus more on the conservation aspect of it. And my goal on my channel is to give people the proper information on husbandry and what is required to work with these fish. So.
And for you guys wondering, I'll link the channel below as usual, all that stuff.
Yeah, thanks.
When working with these species that may be sensitive, such as Zugoneticus tequila, for like the temperature reasons, what are the biggest challenges you face to maintain them?
So I'll share from you with me. So when I started working with these fish 7 years ago, I had a little bit of experience and I had a little knowledge, but where I am now, I've come to realize I was not prepared. So I think one of the things that a lot of people have a challenge is getting the right information. But I was fortunate to be in correspondence with Greg. And over the years, I've gotten affiliated with a lot of organizations and groups. And so I think for me, it was not getting all of the information. Let's just say if I was someone in the hobby that wanted to start working with these fish, and I didn't have access to someone as a mentor or an organization, I feel, like I said, I feel that's the vacuum in this hobby with critically endangered fish, not just with goodeids, but with critically endangered fish in general.
Yes, yes.
So I think part of the community and the hobby helping in conservation is those of us that understand the processes teaching and sharing them so that we can continue that on. Because what I find happens, just in my opinion, in the hobby, if you're not understanding the husbandry and what it takes to maintain these bloodlines, you're doing more harm than you are good. So I think that's one of the things, not just from parameters, water
Yep.
parameters, nutrition, it's as a whole in the hobby. And so that's kind of what I like to do is I like to share my experience. I like to share the knowledge that's been shared with me. So I think, and some are a little more sensitive to others. For instance, just my personal opinion, I love the Kraken ones. They do very well here, but I don't feel Kraken ones are good for everyone because they have the temperament of a dwarf cichlid. So you have to treat them like a dwarf cichlid.
Oh, yeah.
If you're not aware of that, that could cause a big disappointment. So I think there's things with water parameters such as temperature and stuff, but there's also, if you're not utilizing the proper husbandry skills, that could cause a lot of issues too. And like I said, that's the vacuum I see right now.
Oh, yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah, sure.
And just for a point, Goodyear is not a beginner fish. But to follow that, for someone that wants a Goodyears or something similar like a Limia, what is like the most thing to start? Like, not everyone should start with Goodyears and stuff. Like, that's just obvious.
Right.
But if you want to get into that, what's like the most important thing that you need to get right?
First thing I would tell people, and this is absolutely not an attack on our hobby, critically endangered fish. There are some that you can see fairly regular, and I'll use Amica splendens, the butterfly Goodyear. We see them a lot in the hobby, fish clubs, events. But here's the thing to remember. One of the things that is paramount in working with critically endangered fish is maintaining their ESUs and their collection point data. So I like Amica splendens to start with if you're just Again, I agree with you. There's certain things that it shouldn't be a starter fish. Let's say you have experience in the hobby, you've been successful in the hobby, and you want to try your hand at Goodyears. Amica splendens, in my opinion, is the more forgiving species of Goodyears, and I get what you're saying. I don't like to call fish a starter fish either.
Yeah, definitely.
But they're a good example, and they can deal with a lot of different parameters and stuff as long as you're keeping the basic functions down. So. But one of the things I tell people with any critically endangered fish, whether it's a Limia, whether it's a Goodyear, a cichlid, anything, there's so many critically endangered fish. It's not just getting that fish, and also you have to keep the ESUs, which stands for evolutionary significant unit, and their collection points. And the reason for that is a track record of when they were collected, where they were collected. And that's how, and in certain situations, such like with the Xenotocas, so that's the Dowagerary lion's eye, they look exactly the same. With that information, you're less likely to hybridize. So that's one of the things I say. Amica splendens is a good one to start out with, but what I tell people, it's not just looking for these fish, it's looking for the fish that are being maintained the way husbandry-wise they're meant to be, with their collection point data and stuff. And then honestly, and I'm not saying this because I breed a lot of Goodyears, find a reputable source for them, because if you really want to get into an aspect of breeding beautiful, confirmed lines of these fish, get them from someone who has standards set. Get them from someone that has built a reputation in the community. Because what I find happens, and this is just a blanket statement, when people start circulating fish that are not what I call confirmed, and just you have a name, you don't have collection points or anything, this muddles the lines. And over time, that works against conservation. So like I said, I don't just work with critically endangered fish. My goal is maintaining the genetic bloodlines through conservation. That cannot happen when you're working with unconfirmed fish. So I tell people, start out with something that's pretty forgiving. And like, if you want a Goodyears, Amica splendens is pretty forgiving, but a lot of people want to start with the Krakenons, and that just doesn't work. You have to learn a lot about the Krakenons first. So But yeah, if someone wanted to start with Gwydions, some of the Xenotocas like
Yep.
Doadroi lionsi, Amica splendens, Xenotoca pardalis is a
Yep.
really cool one. They're not much really colorful, but their characteristics and behaviors are cool, and they get to be a decent sized fish. There's a few of them, but what I would say, one of the things is find someone that specializes in these fish. Um, and that you get what you look for. So if you're
Yep.
looking for a quality, you're going to look for all of that stuff.
Yep. And I'll have a couple links right here of like websites like Ed's Exotics, Select Aquatics, people like that. I have a bunch of people that can hook you guys up and everything.
Yeah, and the thing is, most of us that work with critically endangered fish are always in contact with each other, and we're sharing things all the time, and that's part of this hobby is sharing the information, and it grows, and we share that with the other hobbyists, and that's how more and more people are successful.
Gotcha.
So almost all of us talk on a regular basis. Species that I got Amica splendens from Greg 7 years ago. They're still thriving and producing. Um, so, and it started there. And then I did a few other species with Greg, and I was just hooked. It's like, yeah, this is what I want to focus my fish room on. And I'm pretty fortunate because a lot of people don't have the room and space I do. So I actually have, well, two rooms, but one is fully functioning. The other one still needs a little work, but I do have two fish rooms. And at any given time, I have between 80 and 110 functioning aquariums. So I have that space that I can do what I want to do with them. So currently I'm breeding about 22 different species. And I've set my own standards in my lines. So when I'm working with critically endangered fish, my bloodline, I'm not trying to breed for color or anything like that. I'm taking the best specimens within that species and strengthening those bloodlines.
Yes.
So, but that kind of goes with that. But what I tell people, find something you like. Most people don't have the space I do. So start out with one species. And it's not just, okay, I'm going to breed them. Okay, now I'm done. I'll go to the next. The goal with working with conservation and critically endangered fish is maintaining them over time. Because what will happen as you get a bloodline from someone that's your progenitor, even in your fish room, it's going to differ a little bit. And over what I have found, my Doadroi that I got from Greg, when they first came in, you could tell it was his line. As they've produced stem, as they've gotten accustomed to my water parameters and what I do, they've changed a little bit. I would say to someone, sorry, went a little bit off.
No, you're good.
I tell people, find a species that interests you, that you get as much information as you can before you bring them into the home, and maintain them. And don't just, okay, I got a couple babies, now I'm going to move them on. Find a species that you say, hey, you know what, I can dedicate this tank space ongoing and see what I can do to help in this bloodline. So that it's a little different than like someone who just breeds a fish and then moves on to the next.
Yep.
I mean, if that's your choice, that's fine. But it's not the ultimate goal working with critically endangered fish. And we're finding fewer and fewer people working with critically endangered fish, especially in the United States.
Yep.
So that's the goal, is sharing this information, because there's a lot of misinformation out there too.
Yep. So to sum it up, basically, you just got to keep them pure, like bloodline to be pure. You don't want to hybridize, and it's just
correct.
Focus on a species you like, and then keep it going.
Right. Exactly.
Well, we're coming to the end right now. What do you think future looks like for these rare species in the hobby? What can we do to spread awareness and keep these species going?
This is my mantra, my friend.
Yep, right there.
So when I'm speaking at clubs or I'm doing my stream, I give it from my point of view. And some people may see that, boy, like he's really splitting hairs. But as someone who has worked I work with many different people that are field researchers. I work with people at Aqualab. So, but I'm fortunate to have that. As I work with these folks, I see what they're doing, and then respectfully, I see what our hobby does. We all have to mesh together and come together cohesively to do what's best for these fish. So I think one of the things, as long as people are open to sharing their information and willing to learn, I could see great growth in the hobby for this in years to come.
Yep.
But how I think we spread awareness is through a lot of different ways. Through social media. So one of the things what cracks me up about social media, and I'm not picking on anyone, but I find it interesting. Facebook groups. There are a lot of Facebook groups that, oh, we're for conservation. Well, that's great. We want to, you know, bring these fish, make these fish as abundant in the hobby as we can. That's great. So you go on these groups and you see a picture of a fish or a video of a fish and it says what it is. But what are they not sharing? These are the water parameters. This is what I'm feeding. This is what I've noticed. They're not sharing information. So like I keep saying, there's that vacuum.
Yes.
What I would like to see in our hobby, hey, this is Xenotoca duhydroi. I've had them in my fish room for 3 years. These are the water parameters I find they do well at. This is what they recommend. This is what I feed. You're not just showing a picture of a fish. You're giving the community information that if they're interested in that fish, they can utilize now. So if we're going to have these groups and stuff, make it beneficial to bring new people in, and just showing a fish and using it, just as I have this, or I just wanted to share this video. It's cool that you want to share. But share something tangible with the hobby where people will learn from it and it can help them to be successful with these fish. So that's what I would hope people would start doing. And by spreading the awareness that it's not just producing a fish. These critically endangered fish, we need to maintain and preserve them genetically for the future, whether we're keeping them healthy in the hobby, or whether if they eventually, like Zookineticus and Tequila and Scipia francese, were reintroduced back into the wild. So that's the thing about it. That's what I'd like to see it happen into the hobby in the future.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay, you want to work with these fish. I will be happy to answer your questions, but understand it is really different, and this is not knocking the ornamental hobby. It's completely different than the ornamental hobby. And you have as long as they're willing to listen and stuff, I've helped guide them. And I'm sure there's people out there that will tell you, like, I'm still in contact with people months to years later. How are your colonies doing? Any concerns, stuff. So I don't just pass on these fish and move on. I'm a support system to help you, because I feel that's how we're going to grow the critically endangered hobby. And that's just my goal. So that's what I think it is, because what I'm doing is sharing content on my channel that a lot of people steer away from talking about.
Yes.
But I talk about it respectfully, and I think it opens a lot of people's eyes, and that's where it has to come in. And I think now a lot of people are starting to understand. It's not that I can't speak for everyone, but a lot of these folks are really nice people. They're willing to share, but they're also guarded because we feel a responsibility to these fish. So that's where a lot of that falls into play. And there are a few people out there. Each person has a different person. Everyone's different. Most of us are willing to help. It's just, we're happy to share. As long as you're open to listening. So I have to stick with what I believe. And so for me, part of that big issue is lack of education. And that's where I go with this. And so for me, it's educating people so they can be successful. Because if you're saying, in my opinion, if you're saying you're for conservation, but you're not educating people on these fish, and then something happens to these fish because the person wasn't prepared or didn't understand, again, that's something else that works against conservation. So I'd like to see people talk the talk and walk the walk. And that's why I call on anyone that's working with critically endangered fish in the hobby, any of these fish in general, don't be afraid to share information. Don't be afraid to and open yourself up and say, share it. Because what will happen as people see the authenticity of what you're presenting, we're going to change people's views and opinions about a lot of people in critically endangered fish. That's what I'd like to see happen in the future.
Gotcha. So to wrap things up, I would just like to know, how can people find you? How can people watch your videos and stuff? Could you give us a few links?
Sure, Betty. So my website is www.edsaquaticexotics.com. I am also a business page on Facebook, Ed's Aquatic Exotics, and I usually do daily updates there. I just got back on that page for all. I needed a little break on Facebook for a while, which I won't get into. But I'm active there. I do usually do daily updates and things of that nature, but it's also a good way if you have a question that you need answered as quick as possible. You can put on my messenger on there and reach me, and it's a lot quicker than an email.
Yep.
Because if there's something that you need and time is of the essence, by all means, message me on the page. And then also my YouTube channel, which is Ed's Aquatic Exotics.
And I'll link all those in the description below. And, just people that you can find. I'll link some useful website, Goody Ed working group, stuff like that, to help you guys be successful. Thank you so much, Ed, for your time.
Thank you for having me, buddy.
And thank you guys for sticking to the end. See you guys.
Take care.